ABR.
What an episode that was.
She was such a delight.
Yeah, I was just like so fascinated by all of the interesting stuff that
her stories and the history. I could have listened to her talk all night.
It's just funny because you don't think of like the history of what you're drinking, right?
Never. Yeah.
You're just like, this is delicious. But yeah, I mean, we kind of talk about it in the show, just how everything has a history, and like, you know, talking about like just like how she talked about, what was it, like the founding fathers when they had the whatever and they drank all the punch bowls and the swans, and I don't know, it was just really interesting.
It was really interesting. Well,
was.
To set it up real quick. So today on our episode of Spokecast, we had on Renee of
Raising the Bar.
And she's on Instagram as Badass Barware, and she is a mixologist historian that's here in Spokane, and she sells
Badass Barware. Vintage Badass Barware, yeah. She's a cocktail historian.
Is it cocktail? Well, you know, when we were talking about when learning about all the different types, like there's like however many, 18 different types of like cocktails was just a part of it.
Just like, a quick recap, right? We learned that the original cocktails had 4 ingredients: the spirit, sugar, water, and bitters. And then we also learned the little rhyme to remember punch. And I've never going to look at a punch bowl or punch the same now. I'm so fascinated about this. And it was
1 a sour.
1 a sour, 2 a sweet, 3 a strong, 4 a weak.
And now I'm going to.
It sounds like we're like Wiccans and like casting a spell or something.
Yes, we are casting a spell. A spell of good times. Oh my goodness. There just is. She's a wealth of information regarding, history in general. And then, as she mentioned, tying all of these great historic events back to spirits and that American drinking traditions, that history. She offers so much. She has classes. Then she actually sells the barware. And then she also sells her bitters at From Here, which are great little holiday gifts. I just am in the mood to make punch now.
Yeah, I want to have a punch party.
The whole punch thing just seems so interesting to me now.
It's so interesting.
So cool, like how like that, like in colonial America, that's like what they, you know, they put out, like to have like a party or have a get together, like a punch bowl. Like it just makes so much more. It makes so much sense when you're like, when like if I have like a bunch of friends at my house,
you don't want to be making single cocktails all night.
You don't. Like, I always want to,
entertain, have fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, be able to actually have conversations.
And it would be fun to, like, really, like, perfect, to try different punches and, like...
Would you say the book had, like, 86 punch recipes? And 10 cocktails?
I know exactly what everyone I know is getting for Christmas this year.
Well, and she did talk about how, like, any recipe can really be made into a punch. Like, and she said to get a hold of her if you need to know.
Yes, she was wonderful. An absolute gem. Yeah. Follow her on Instagram, Badass Barware. Check her out on her website. It is Raising the Bar NW, as in Northwest.com. And of course, you can find her on Facebook at Raising the Bar Northwest. And definitely check out her classes. I think we should definitely get a group together and do a class.
That'd be so fun.
Brennan, that's definitely perfect housewarming.
Yeah, that's too far away. We need to do it sooner.
That's so true.
Well, is it really that far away?
I thought you meant like my house was going to be too far away.
No.
The time frame.
The moving in.
I know you're sensitive about it, so I'm not going to like make fun of it about you living in the valley.
I don't live in the valley. I'm going to live in Millwood.
I'm going to live in Millwood.
I'm still, my address is going to be Spokane. But thank you guys so much for, listening to our show. I know we were on kind of like a week break, and I appreciate you guys sticking around and, waiting for this show. This show was, it was good. It was a really
great.
There's a lot we learned, and she came in, she made us she made us cocktails.
She brought all of the barware.
Yeah, brought in. Oh my! It was so
brought in
fantastic.
beautiful coupe glasses.
I just provided ice. I'm glad I had ice.
I asked her. I was like, "Is there anything we need to be bringing for like anything we need to have on hand for this evening to prep?"
It's so great. Yeah, thank you guys, and rate and subscribe and download and all of that.
And
nonsense.
follow.
Tell your friends and
Slide into our DMs.
Slide into those DMs.
Email us at hello@spokecast.com. We have a ton of, not ton, but we have a list of people coming up in the next couple weeks. So stay tuned for that. We'll have another extra AF.
We'll have our high. I promise. Our high is coming.
Yeah, getting our schedules together has been a little difficult, but
we'll make it happen.
We'll make it happen for you guys. But thank you again, and
this is Spokecast.
Hey, this is Spokecast, and I'm Andrea Williams with
Nate Martin
and
Brennan Pointer.
We all work and play in Spokane, Washington, and just want to share our experiences from this great city.
From our favorite hangouts, hikes, and happy hours, we're here to talk about all the Lilac City has to offer.
But that's not all we're going to be talking about on Spokecast.
Each episode will feature a guest host to chat about how they're changing the landscape of our city.
This is Spokecast.
Do you want to start, Andrew? Do you want to kick this show off?
Should we cheers
We
again?
should cheers. Yes.
Okay.
Cheers.
I'm almost out of my drink.
Oh no.
Cheers.
Refill. I'll start by asking a question about
Oh, God.
about cheersing. I've told this old anecdote about like cheersing and that like it started.
Antidote?
Is it antidote?
Anecdote.
Anecdote. Thank you. Anecdote that people like in the olden times, back in the day, they would do it because it would slosh their beers around, and it was like it would if someone's drink was poisoned, then they all would be poisoned.
Oh.
Have you ever?
What? I've not heard that. Okay. But actually, that's the fun thing about drinking history is there's so much out there, and in like social history, you don't have a lot written down, and you have little tidbits, little pieces of the puzzle here and there, and it's different with different drinks and different times and from different traditions. So that might be more like a German and
Right. Yeah. I don't know the origins. I heard it, and I always kind of use it. I always kind of say it when I.
It's a good starter.
It's a good starter. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I like it.
Well, we have Renee with Raising the Bar, and is it in Badass Barware? Is that the hashtag, or is that just
It's your Instagram handle.
Instagram handle? Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So when I started my business, it was Raising the Bar, Vintage and Badass Barware. And then it's always been kind of sprang from the history of the drinks and the traditions. And so I changed it to Stories in the Glass, but I still sell Badass Barware. And the glass is important, and so that's why we're drinking out of some Badass Barware.
We are definitely
These are so
drinking
cool.
out of some Badass Barware. It's so, they're beautiful. We'll have photos to share.
Yeah, definitely have them on Instagram. And so you are, we talked a little bit before, you're from Spokane.
I am, yeah.
Okay.
I was born and raised here, and met my husband out at Eastern, and we moved to Missouri.
You can call it that if you
call it.
live there. I live there, and I call it Missouri too.
Yeah. Not used to the heat and humidity. It was just a different kind of a culture. But he's a academic, and his first tenure track position he was offered was there, and that's where you go with your first job, wherever it is, it doesn't matter. And so we were there for 12 years and just waiting and watching and hoping to get back to the great Pacific Northwest. And we just never dreamed that we would actually end up back here because we met in a class out at Eastern, and he's teaching out at Eastern. So other academic friends say, oh, you're the one who gets to teach the place where you want to live.
Instead of relocating.
And then somebody else said, oh, that's like winning the lottery, but without the money, because you're educators,
Right.
teachers. So
yes.
Well, awesome. Well, before we get into everything that you're doing with Raising the Bar and whatnot, we are going to start with a game with Nate.
Okay, so we tried to play this game a while ago, and it was a really big failure.
Oh,
it's
no.
called Swipe Left, Swipe Right.
No.
Which is a if you've ever heard of Tinder.
Oh yeah.
So if you swipe right on someone, it's different. Stop. It's different. That means you like it or you whatever.
To the left is a like.
To the right is right.
To the right.
So to the
Okay.
right is right, left is wrong.
So left is loser. Like
Yes.
the
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Exactly.
And right is like Mr. Right.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
Oh, is that what it is?
Well, I don't know. That's how I remember it.
That makes sense.
And so, but instead of people, we're swiping right, swiping left on cocktails.
Oh,
So I found
love
like
Love it.
obscure cocktails from around the country and with interesting and fun names, and swipe right, swipe left on them, and then tell us why or don't tell us
Okay.
why, whatever you want to do.
This is so great. Okay.
Okay.
See, we're just learning about this at the same time. This is awesome.
So the first one is called a nip slip. And
Is this something like Janet Jackson? Like
that's a good one. Actually, so it comes from this bar in New York called Butter and Scotch, and they have their entire menu dedicated to women's empowerment and LGBTQ rights. So all of
cool.
their like names are like geared towards that.
That's awesome.
So this has kava, Barrow's intense ginger liqueur, and raspberry lime sorbet. So swipe right or swipe left.
Oh gosh, I think I'd swipe right on that. I'd like that with brunch, please.
That
Same.
does
sound
Yeah,
really
that
good.
sounds delicious.
Ginger and
I love
yeah.
anything
Yeah.
with like a little bit of bubbles.
Some of these names are really funny, so that's why I picked them. I don't really. So this is probably my favorite. It's called Faux King Champ. So and it's spelled PHO-King.
Okay,
So,
there we
but
go.
you know, it's a little. Would it be like a double entendre?
I think so, yeah.
So it's vodka, something, I don't know, some sort of sherry, aromatized beef stock, and cilantro leaf.
Wow. So it's like
Vodka,
Yeah, vodka,
beef broth,
sherry,
cilantro,
and cilantro.
sherry.
how much beef broth? Like, does it give you
It
ounces?
doesn't give us a
Oh,
recipe.
okay.
It just gives us. It's very interesting.
Is it? I wonder if it's warm. Is a beef broth
Ooh.
warm?
We don't
This
want
is a
any
good
little
question.
fat floaties, you know,
It
congealed.
doesn't say how
Yeah.
the temperature of this cocktail
Man.
is served.
You know what? I think there are places where the whole more savory,
Yeah.
and that's popular. I'm gonna swipe left because that's just not like favorable to me and my palate.
Yeah.
So,
That
yeah.
sounds super enticing.
I haven't
to me
got into
either.
the whole savory cocktails yet, but I think
Yeah.
I might swipe
I
right.
think I would swipe right on it. I think I'd try it.
You would.
Yeah.
I mean,
Eh.
I wouldn't order it, but if somebody had it, I might take
Right.
a sip of it.
Right.
But
The
yeah.
basil sounds really nice with the sherry and
yeah.
the vodka. Yeah. A little bit salty, kind of like a dirty martini.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say,
that's-
yeah,
yeah,
or like
yeah.
a
Oh,
Bloody
sure.
Mary.
I drink
Yeah.
that.
I was
stuff.
thinking,
I love a dirty martini. Yeah.
yeah, that's your go-to, a blue cheese stuffed
Well,
olives.
well, I think I know what if we ever do a show again, we've got our series of drinks that we need
Well, yeah.
to,
Right.
to
There we
give
go.
a try. Huh?
We'll have to figure out the proportions and make these cocktails. Well, so in that same vein of like savory cocktails, this one's called the Bacon Cherry Creek. And I put this in here because I am kind of, this whole bacon thing is still like really big and it's kind of frustrating to say the least. But the recipe calls for bacon washed Knob Creek bourbon whiskey, and they include instructions on how to like basically infuse your whiskey with bacon flavor, and liquid muse cherry cinnamon syrup, ruby port, and garnished with an orange zest.
You know what? I'm going to swipe right on that just because the bacon with the bourbon and the cherry, those are very complimentary
oh.
to me.
Yeah.
Well,
they
you
can
just
be
changed
together.
my mind. I'll swipe right on it then.
Yeah.
I know,
I was
defer
thinking
to
at
the
first, I'm
expert.
like, yeah, exactly. Yeah, the bacon. The bacon trend can be a bit much. There's a lot. Yeah,
there's a lot of it.
I'll try anything with bacon.
What?
I mean, I still like I don't like the trend of bacon, but I
Of course,
still
bacon is delicious.
Yeah, bacon's good.
It's just like
I don't like it in my Bloody Mary though.
Oh my
because
God.
it gets soggy.
I like a big thick piece of bacon, like
Not in my Bloody
like a chef's
Mary.
cut, like where it's like it's more like juicy. Oh, it's so good when it sucks in the juice of the Bloody Mary.
Ew.
Oh, it's so good.
There was the whole bacon flavored vodka at one point too.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Yeah.
so gross.
Yeah.
Sticky.
But it does sound like the bacon isn't in your drink.
It's not in the drink.
They have
no.
infused
Yeah.
the bourbon with
Yeah.
those flavors and the
They
smokiness.
called it bacon washed.
I like that.
bacon washed.
So the next one is called She's So Fine, but it's Shisho. Shisho Fine. SCHISHO. This is very hard to say. So it is Tanqueray, lemon, shiso leaf, and seltzer.
What is a
I don't know what it is.
shisho
I should have
leaf?
looked that up actually.
I think I would swipe left on it just because I don't know what a shisho leaf is,
Sheesh.
but it sounds like a.
Tanqueray.
It sounds like
isn't
it'd probably be
that gin?
botanical. It'd be probably
Right?
it has
Yeah.
to be botanical, right?
Oh, it's
Yeah,
part
they're-
of the mint family.
Oh, I
Oh, yeah.
definitely swipe
Okay,
right on
that
that.
sounds
right?
really
Okay.
good.
Swipe right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Swipe right
Yum.
for sure.
Yum, yum.
This one. So I picked this one because of Andrea.
Oh no.
It's called Tequila Mockingbird.
Oh yay! That was my Halloween
That was her
costume
Halloween
last year.
costume.
I was a big kid. I carried around tequila all night.
Silver tequila, triple sec, lime, jalapeno, and Aperol. I mean, I'd swipe right on that. That sounds-
Aperol.
Right,
sounds really good.
Yeah, with a tequila. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think I've had Aperol with tequila. I only have Aperol in my champagne.
Yeah, this whole Aperol trend is like really taking off. Like you can find Aperol like
At Target.
Target
Yeah.
at a
It used
like
to be
they sell 'em
impossible to find that.
in
Yeah.
yeah.
Aperol spritz.
Yeah.
It's a big
Yeah.
thing.
It's like
How do you feel about Aperol?
Oh, I love it. It's and other products like Aperol, Campari, other
Yes.
Amari, and with some ice and sparkling water or champagne, sparkling wine, a little bit of citrus. It's I know in France, college students, it's what they have after class. It's kind of their afternoon thing. They do something. It's not Aperol. They usually have Kir. Kir, like a Kir Royale
okay.
type of thing, or something a little bit lighter, or maybe a sweet vermouth, a red vermouth, and then with some San Pellegrino and lemon or lime.
that sounds
Yeah,
fantastic.
just really refreshing
sounds
and
very
not real
refreshing.
strong, but just a little take the edge off after class and getting ready to study.
Right?
sounds great.
Chinar, I believe it's what it's
Oh,
called.
Sinar?
Chinar.
Is it
Chinar,
Chinar?
yeah.
Yeah, CYNAR.
It's like it's an aperitif, but it's like artichoke, I think is like the thing. Yeah, really good.
Is that in the same family as the label? Kind of looks similar between that and Aperol and Campari.
They're all, like Nate said, aperitifs and digestifs, but they're in a family called, they're an Amaro, or the plural is Amari, and there are maybe over 100 different kinds.
Oh wow.
And regional in Italy and also in France. And they were, when they came to America, they became cocktail modifiers, like vermouth. So I'm always wanting to learn more about
There's so
different
much to
Amaro.
know.
There's
like,
so many.
Like so, if you go to like Italy or like France, you could like get all these different like all these different
Aperitif? Is it what you call it?
aperitif. I cannot say that word. So you could just like, oh man, that sounds awesome. It's like going to like a store and like seeing all the different Tabascos, because like Tabasco makes like 50 flavors, but you like only get like we only see like three of them. But like I'd love to see like all the different ones.
And they do have amazing labels.
That's what.
Yeah.
Oh, so
Yeah, very
Brennan
cool.
and I work for a design and marketing agency, and we've done this last year quite a few label and cocktail and cider, packaging, and it's so fun. It's so fun to design and get to be a part of
That's
that
a lot of
since
fun.
we're consumers
Right.
as well. Yeah,
Well, you
it's
have
all
to
about
know
the
your
great
product.
labels.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, it's market research.
A lot of
right?
testing. A lot of testing.
Our designer right now, she has about 6 bottles, different kinds of bottles on her desk, and everyone that walks in there like, "What's going on?" It's like, "No, we're just working on some projects."
This next one is called the American Serial Killer, but cereal like as in the
Captain Crunch,
right? Like breakfast food.
Oh, this sounds a little
Sugary?
sketchy.
Yeah.
So it is Fighting Cock whiskey, Madagascan vanilla whiskey, Angostura bitters, and milk made from Cheerios. So like milk soaked, Cheerios soaked in milk. Yeah.
Honey Nut Cheerios or OG
It just
Cheerios?
says Cheerios.
I would assume Honey Nut maybe because they have more of a flavor.
Interesting.
I
Yeah.
bet it's just Cheerios.
I bet it's just Cheerios. I thought it was interesting because it's kind of became a
Angostura
trend for a
bitters,
little bit.
and then 2 different whiskeys, and one is
Vanilla?
the vanilla.
Vanilla whiskey.
Wow.
It's interesting, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure what to think on that.
You don't have to like it. That's fine.
Yeah, I think I'll just swipe left.
I think I'd swipe left too. I don't like the idea of
It
whiskey
seems-
and milk.
It seems like well, first of all, I don't really like milk anyway, but like the idea of like milk that's been like
I can't.
aged, it's like kind of like not aged, but
Yeah,
you
I
know,
had a really bad-
yeah,
infused.
from the wheat. and
It's
the-
weird.
I had a really bad night with White Russians one time at a Christmas party,
Oh god.
and I was like 21.
Right,
like,
that's
and
totally
like
20, I
that's
feel
what you do when
like.
you're 21. You order
Yeah.
like a night of White Russians
Or rum and cokes.
Well, that's a little bit normal, but like White
The
Russian.
milk adds, the
Yeah.
cream adds another dimension if you overdo it, for
Yeah,
sure.
I was just thinking, I'm like, what is a milk whiskey cocktail? I can't.
Well, yeah. So
a
White
common
Russian,
one.
and there's like a Smith and Curran's, and there's which is made with vodka, and I think there's something called like a Smith and Wesson, and they make that with whiskey, and they're very late 70s, 80s, early 90s drinks.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Which some very serious mixologists and bartenders have a phrase for that time of drinking culture in America. You can ask me about it later.
Okay.
No, for sure. We
Yes,
will.
yes.
Okay, so here's our last one. I just think this one's funny. Well, actually, it's very interesting too. It's called Ménage à Pois, and pois is French for pear, I believe. I mean, it is pear. I think it's French. I'm not sure, but it is made with brown butter, black truffle, cognac, and pear spheres. So like literal spheres of pear. Interesting, right?
Yeah, with the truffle.
Yeah.
Not sure about that.
And brown butter.
Sounds rich.
That sounds like it might need
sounds
to be
really
warm
heavy.
too.
A dessert, kind of after dinner.
What does cognac taste like? I can't even. I don't.
Yeah, I was
There's just not really any
It's a
sweetness
it's
in
a kind
there.
of brandy, and it's from the Cognac region in France.
Oh.
And so kind of like champagne. And so other places make brandy, which is like cognacs.
So it's like the OG.
And it's been aged, and the longer it's aged, the richer the flavors and the more expensive it is.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a lot
So
of things
swipe
that are
right,
aged
swipe
well.
left.
I'm
Hold
going
on.
to swipe left on it.
Okay.
I just like the cognac alone. You can just
You're
leave
just-
everything else
just
out.
out of it itself.
Yeah.
Love it.
Swiping left.
I'll
as
swipe.
well.
I'll try it. I'll try it.
No,
The thing
I
about
would
it, I'll
swipe
try
left on
everything
that.
once.
The
so,
butter
like-
grosses me out.
But yeah, butter. I mean, like that might actually the truffle and the butter might like be like, that sounds.
I mean, put that on some mashed potatoes. That'd be great.
What?
And the cognac
Oh
on
my
the
goodness.
side.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
And then
just-
pears for dessert. Perfect.
You could just take, exactly. Remove the cognac, put it over ice cream, and then
Oh,
there
yeah,
you go.
there you go.
Everything else. It does sound like something.
Well, that was our game. So
Yeah.
thank you for playing. That one worked out much better than the last one.
That was good.
Okay.
That
And it-
was
and
good.
it-
I
and it
was
was very
really
topical.
nervous
Yeah.
when we
Yeah.
talked about Tinder because the last one was interesting.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Hot list.
Hot list.
Oh gosh, so your favorite place to get a cocktail?
Yeah.
Ooh, one
Can-
of your
can-
one
can
of
you
your
do that?
go-tos.
She can't say her
not,
favorite,
Not
but-
necessarily your favorite.
Like near your
Yes.
house.
Or
Near your home.
Well, actually, now near my house, Root.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I
They
haven't been there
It's
yet.
so good.
They have great cocktails.
Their food is great too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is. It is. I love Durkin's.
Yes.
Yeah.
always
And
good.
then their other restaurant, Casper Fry.
Yeah.
I haven't been there forever.
Yeah.
That's good though.
Love going to Tiny Tiki.
Oh, so fun.
Especially, isn't it fun to go there in the winter? Like there's snow outside and you can just go in and it's
Yeah.
that
Cozy.
quaint, warm space and you kind of,
A Mai Tai, you'll be warm. You'll be
Yeah.
warm and toasty. And just a
escape to
little
the
bit.
tropics, if only for a couple drinks.
Well, and actually, there's a
Yes.
bar opening up next door called Little Something Saloon.
Oh, okay.
It's going to be like a
Texas themed.
bar, and yeah, so I think that opens on New Year's Eve. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh wow.
Who's
That's-
opening that? Do you know?
Her name is Kristen Skinner. Her and her boyfriend Austin, and she's the executive director of Laboratory,
Oh, okay.
which is the art residency program.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, they've been working on it really hard. I'm
It looks really
excited
cool.
because it's Tiny Tiki. I go to Hogwash. It's kind of like
Yeah.
my little that's my little now I have a
Yeah, that's
triangle.
awesome.
And I have more on my list of where I'd like to
Yes.
go and have a cocktail. So, love Hogwash.
So
Yes.
great.
Yeah.
So great.
And also love Luna.
Oh.
So they have, and their lead bartender is so knowledgeable and crazy about gin. And so for gin drinks and learning about that, it's great. Yeah.
That is so good to know because my friend in Boston, he loves gin. And that's
Okay.
such a nice thing to know to be able to refer to someone. Like if you were into gin, I remember when IPK or Inland Pacific Kitchen, they had their, like a couple months ago, they had this menu that we went and
They had
did.
a gin
And they had a
cocktail menu.
whole gin menu. And I was
Right.
like, you've got to go and check it out. It was so...
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I never liked gin, and just in like the last year and a half, I really started to really get into it. And I think it's just knowing there's so many different kinds out there, and they're all very different.
Yeah. And what you do with it, what you mix it with.
Totally.
Yeah.
Like I think one of my favorite drinks is a bee's knees. Like
Oh, I
I
love
just
those,
love
yeah.
the bee's knees. Like I will drink that all the time. It's so good. So
Prohibition era drink.
yes,
Yeah.
It's just the honey simple syrup. You definitely have to make that. Like you can't just use like regular simple syrup. You have to use honey simple syrup. It makes the drink for sure.
All right.
At least that's how I feel. Speaking of bee's knees, Italia Trattoria has a bee's knees that's very good, and they actually make the honey simple syrup from their own honey, from
Oh
their
my
own
gosh.
bees.
Wow.
That's amazing.
So
I
I
did
mean,
not know
you
that.
can't get much better than that.
No.
Yeah.
So and it's
you
always
can't.
a little different because of that, like because their honey is always a little different. It's always
Space the
changing,
season,
and
Yeah.
yeah, so it's cool.
Any other places that were on your mind?
Ruins.
Ruins.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They do a great job. Yeah.
Aren't we so lucky in Spokane?
Oh
Look
my
at
gosh,
this.
yeah.
And
We're
you're
very
listing off
blessed.
these places, and I'm like, yes, yes, yes.
I know. How could you say your favorite? Really?
Yeah, that's true.
It would be
Yeah.
hard. Have
Yeah.
you been to the new Brennan got to go? Is it called Bijou?
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 I think it's yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to go. So the owner, the husband and wife, they make bitters.
Oh,
And Shaylana was Skidmore Bitters.
Skidmore Bitters. I
And
did.
Shaylana was bartending for a long time at Durkin's and kind of holding down the downstairs bar at different times and phenomenal
yeah.
mixologist and so knowledgeable and yeah.
cool.
That's awesome.
I'm excited to go. I just was reading about that. I think an Inlander article or something came across social media feed.
Okay, I was going to say, it came up on my Facebook feed. Someone
Yeah.
posted about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got so excited that someone did something with the Canada Coffee and Cone building because it's darling.
It is.
And there's just such a great little community right there. But now that it's across from Lucky You, what even a perfect time to be open. There's
Yeah.
more and more traffic in that area, especially
Yeah.
like late night traffic.
And we can't forget Garageland
Oh.
and Bon Bon.
Oh
We are
my
so
gosh,
lucky.
we
are
are.
so lucky.
Bon Bon is.
Yeah, it just kind of depends on your mood, the day of the week, the
Totally,
season.
yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I
So
go.
we're lucky. Yeah.
Bon Bon, that's so true. Yes, every totally Tubular Tuesday or movie night at the Garland starts.
What is
at
that
Bon
place? It's
Bon.
called the Drinkery. Is that what it's
The
called?
Garland Drinkery.
Yeah.
I think that's down there.
Oh,
It's really good too. It's like just down the street.
I haven't been there. I went to it was the Garland Drinkery a couple years back, and then it closed for a while.
Yeah.
And I haven't been
Okay.
back since it's reopened.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know.
I'll throw
It's
out
been
one,
a couple years since
I'll-
I've gone there.
I'll throw out one last place. Have you been to Elliott's yet on Monroe?
I haven't.
You need to go there.
Okay. I've just been too busy, and I got to get home. I had to get out there and get drinking.
Right. But the owners there are a couple, and Ray and Tony. And Ray is she's a very good mixologist, and she got me onto Hot Charlotte, which is like a spicy, like it's gin, Saint Germain, and Tabasco with tonic, or not tonic, something else. I don't know the actual cocktail.
You're just going over it.
It has Tabasco in it, and I like a spicy drink, but it's like gin, and it's so good.
Spicy drink. Gosh, that is a lot of great places. So
and I'm sure there's more we can name.
Everyone listening, you've got
I know.
your
I just
work
think
cut out.
I didn't want to leave anyone out of my favorites, and I've had the privilege of working with some great bartenders, mixologists, doing classes and just doing like food and drink shows, and I just have such respect for them because it's fast paced, and people, they deal with a lot of different people and people drinking.
Yes.
So it takes a special person.
Totally. And I think about, gosh, anytime I go to Hogwash, and sometimes it can be absolutely crazy there, but you think about that cocktail menu and everything that goes into each glass, and they're making it by hand, and I'm like, okay, like you just know, like they're working their tail off. I feel like that's one place where you just see them moving, and there's 75 people in this cozy little spot, and everyone's picking a different cocktail. There's so many to choose from. Oh, excuse me.
I have a new one that I want to add to the hot list. What's your favorite Spokane event?
Oh my gosh, that's a tough one. Years ago, oh gosh, it's my favorite Spokane event. I know what it is. This is easy. It's terrain.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah. I mean, how phenomenal is terrain?
So
just all mediums of art and creativity all coming together for that big night. And I mean, people waiting in line, thousands of people coming through in our fair city. Yeah, it's pretty phenomenal.
How big it is and how many people come out, and all the different types of art. Yeah,
the diversity of the art, of the people, just,
I'd have to agree with you. It is over. It's just, it may not be to the scale and size of a Hoop Fest or a Bloomsday, but the fact that it's bringing that many kinds of people together and getting people out to support the arts. When you think about how many people actually go out for like a First Friday, this is like, it's huge.
And it's just fun.
It's so fun.
It's a great time.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
I always think I don't want the night to end.
Yeah.
Right.
I think even now that it's even 2 nights, it's like it's turning into a little bender.
Well, and there's like a reason to go to both nights too.
100%.
And
I can't get through it.
I totally when we went on the Thursday night opening, and I was like, why would you come back again? And I was like, I missed out, and I was like, man, I definitely want to go both nights. I think I would rather go to Friday night because it sounds like it's just so much more electric.
I only saw about half the art on the first night,
right?
And because you're just running into people, and you're just having a
There's
good time.
music to see and performances.
And so I was glad I went the second night because there
hear.
was still a bunch of stuff I needed to see that I hadn't got a chance to see or do, and so it was great.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, thank you, Brian.
Solid question.
Yeah.
What about coffee? Are you a coffee drinker?
I am. I love
we
coffee.
talked about this. Yes. Do you have a favorite or a coffee shop you like to go to?
Let's see. I love First Avenue Coffee.
Yes.
Coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
They're
awesome.
they're our favorite. They're my favorite. I'll say it.
They're my favorite for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, we all live and work right here. So this is, we go in and
Close
see
for
Deb
that.
and Kristen often. Or Deb when she's there, when she's not at Roast House.
Yeah.
But Spokane's coffee, like you say, though, there is a lot of great options.
Great coffee shops.
Yeah. You can just go in any direction and find pretty good cup of joe.
Yes.
Sure, yeah.
What about lunch? Do you have a favorite lunch spot?
Oh gosh, I love to go to Lindemann's. They're because it's close to my house. I don't go out to lunch very much. I'm just working too hard. So
You did hear Lindemann's closed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so sad.
I said closing, but that's right. It's past tense, isn't it?
It's done.
Yeah.
It's a bummer.
So
I did hear that the owner, she's going to create an online recipe book for all of the stuff that she made. Because, like, I remember, like our friend Heather, who's gluten-free, like, she has celiac. She loved their gluten-free cookies, and she wanted to get the recipe. And she's like, oh, I'm going to do a whole book of all my recipes, and it'll be available online for you to buy. And so, yeah, that's really cool because they had a lot of good stuff that, like, was interesting and different and just delicious. So
yeah. I'm thinking in the summer, kind of things are slowed down a little bit. So maybe going to Central Food and sitting out, that's kind of cool.
Patio.
And I love Madeline's downtown next to Jerkins.
So great.
I need to get out. I realize now I need to get out for lunch more, and some new places to go check out some drinks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good weekend. I'm sure your weekends are normally probably pretty jam-packed.
Yeah, I try to build in like a weekend each month. That's not so.
Oh, good.
Oh, good.
Good one. We set it aside.
You just need to write a list out of all the places you need to hit that weekend.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite local shop that you like to go support? A retail shop?
I love From Here.
Yay!
Yeah, that's great. And I love Fringe and Fray.
Oh, so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are both really solid places.
And actually, the Rocket right next to them, that's kind of a good vibe and good coffee. And they've got beer and wine and cider in the back.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, and next to Fringe and Fray, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and didn't you say that you have a bitters making kit From Here?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Really cool.
Yeah.
What about, do you have a favorite park? Place you like to go outside?
Yeah, probably Manitou.
It's so lovely.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What? Oh, yeah.
Okay, so I'm a runner, and I run just around Spokane, and I noticed I ran by Manitou today, and they totally drained the pond.
The duck pond.
And they're redoing it.
But they're redoing it, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's gonna be so cool, because like when in the summer that pond gets so like kind of gross.
Yeah.
But like
kind of slimy, green yellow.
But they're redoing it, and
cool.
it's gonna be like, it'll be so cool.
I went there this weekend, and I was a little sad though, because the one thing that I like about it is in the winter is it freezes, and people go out and ice skate on it, and I think that is just like the most magical storybook picture.
Yeah. And they'll do like a fire on that far west side. I think it's a Boy Scout troop built it, and it's dedicated to like Korean veterans or something like that. I mean, it's from way back in the 50s or 60s, but yeah, people come and build a fire there and go skate and have a hockey game. And
I love that. Well, I guess
not this winter. Huh? Yes. It's also a great park just because no matter how many times you go there, because it's so big and it just changes so much with every season.
It really does.
You just kind of see it with new eyes. And after our early snow and all those branches that came down, oh my gosh, it looked totally different again.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a magical place.
It is.
It is beautiful.
We are very lucky. I heard that there was a zoo in Manitou back in the day. Isn't that wild?
Really?
Yeah.
There was. You know where the where the park bench is?
Yeah.
I think that was something to do with the zoo, that little building. And then the rocks that are behind it were part of the zoo. And did you know that a polar bear bit off a little girl's arm?
Really?
Yeah.
That is crazy. No.
And then she did like little, not exactly, but like advertisements for the zoo, that the zoo is still good. Just, don't stick your hand. You're not supposed to stick your arms in the cage.
The little girl did?
Oh my god.
That's amazing. That's great marketing.
That's gonna be my new favorite story. And it's all about Manitou Park. That's great.
That's insane. That's awesome. I mean, I don't know if it's awesome, but
it's
that's
a
a
funny
good story. It's a really good story.
We can
Sorry.
laugh about it now. It's
Yeah.
been long
Yes.
enough.
Yeah. Hopefully she's fine or was fine.
I wonder if she's still alive.
No.
How long ago would that have been?
Oh gosh, I don't know. It's a story in Spokane Historical, the app, SpokaneHistorical.org, and you can also go online. And so they have several stories.
Wait, there's an
app in Manitou, and so I think the story of, and I think there might even be a picture that had been in the paper of her with her stubby arm. Sorry.
That's awesome.
So you could look up the date. I don't recall the date.
Wrote down. I didn't know there was an app. This is fantastic.
That's really cool.
That's so cool.
So you can can you go on, you can look at old pictures too, right? Is that part of it?
Yeah, it's map based, GPS based, and they call them stories, but it's place based things. So, and there's over 600 different stories, and some of them are down in the Palouse, Silver Valley, and
I'm looking at it right now. It's really
they
cool.
have some things up in like Lake Roosevelt area. Students from Eastern Washington University, under the direction of Dr. Larry Sabula. That's what he has developed with them, and they learn to do little podcasts. Some of them have little podcasts and little videos, and they all have been some pictures. And
We need to have them on. That's so cool.
That is really cool.
No, that is awesome.
One of my favorite things is to learn about the history of Spokane and look at this. I love looking at aerial views of Spokane.
Oh my gosh,
there's an old
wild.
map. There's an old hand drawn map that's an aerial view of I think it was in the late 1800s, but it just shows the grid, and it just shows what Spokane looked back in the 1890s, but then you can totally see out Northwest Boulevard and all the houses, and it's a really cool map.
That's delicious, isn't it?
Yeah, Delish has a one, and I think there's one at the Spokane Public Library too.
yeah.
Cool.
I think they're called bird's eye view maps, and some company did that, and they went around to kind of the first of these growing small cities and did series of those maps. So, and they did it at different times, but I love those maps too.
Yeah.
Oh, it is
So cool.
You can go. Yeah, I remember looking at the one and finding someone's house. It was still it's oh yeah, that's the house. It's on the corner of the street and this street.
Well, there's a Spokane Archive website. I'm not sure if it's related to that at all, but you can go on to the Spokane. I think it's with the Museum of Arts and Culture. They have.
Yeah.
You can go and type in any address, and you will pull up any photos of that block near that block, and it's really cool because you can just you can type in your address, and you can see your building that you live in, or if there's photos of it. There's nothing of my house, but you a lot of stuff on up in
I'm sure this building.
Manitou, definitely this building. It's cool. It's cool.
Oh, that's really cool.
I have one more hot list question.
Okay.
Because I think it's going to be a really good transition. Where do you recommend people go to find all of the spirits for these more advanced cocktails that, we're not just talking about using Tito's vodka or...
Right,
Yeah.
right. Go to Eggers South Hill Liquor.
Awesome.
Across the street from Luna. So it's small, locally owned, and their manager, Carolyn, she does tastings. She'll have something open, and she is so knowledgeable, and she will answer your questions. And if there's something they don't have that you're wanting, she'll order it for you, and it's great. Yeah.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Really
great.
cool.
I love that.
I need to
And-
find a place to buy olive juice for making dirty martinis, because you only get so much juice out of an olive jar. So I have to buy I have to go to URM and buy olive juice.
Wait, that can't be the same quality though, right?
I'm not sure. I need to learn how to make olive juice, probably, because I drink so many dirty martinis. But
I mean, it's just juice from an olive, right?
But I know the jar is mostly olives, so
Right,
just
yeah.
a little bit of juice. So
yeah, but you can definitely buy. I bought an olive juice before, but I need it. But I went to 5 places yesterday. Nowhere had it. So
Well, I can't imagine a place like the Davenport that makes martinis all day long has just jars and jars of olives
Right.
that they get juice from.
Right.
Because I don't actually drink. I like a dirty martini, but I don't like olives. So I don't. I just don't like texture of olives. So like I just order my martini without olives.
Point being, I wonder if they have olive juice. They might.
Yeah, you should ask her. Go and ask. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Well,
Take a quick break really quickly.
yeah, let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
And we're back. No. That's not what I was supposed to say. I didn't realize I did that a
And
lot.
we're back.
And we're back. I feel like we should have the NBC babu, like the little
The little dial,
baby
the tone thing. Yeah.
xylophone. Renee, what sparked the start of raising the bar, Badass Barware?
I have been interested in cocktail culture. This is going to sound maybe like I'm a total lush. Kind of since I was
You're
like
in
an
good company.
adolescent. Just something about kind of mid-century modern design and kind of Vegas, the Rat Pack, the home bar and kind of all the fancy barware and stuff. I just always thought it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Not really even knowing anything about like alcohol, the drinks or that, but just the aesthetics of it. And then, I enjoyed drinks, and I was on vacation in New England and happened upon a little store on Cape Cod where they sold all kinds of cocktail wares and vintage barware. And I was just intrigued, and that just planted a seed. And I started collecting some vintage barware, and that got a little out of hand. And so... retail, pop-up retail, here we go. I had explored the idea of having a brick and mortar store, to which my husband's in the background shaking his head. No, this isn't like a vacation area outside of Boston to support that. And at the time I was traveling, working with different school districts with history education, professional development, and I just kept seeing pop-up retail, kind of cool, like vintage trailer or a panel truck or all kinds of cool vehicles that people were retrofitting for their shop, whether it was vintage clothes or shoes or whatever. So I thought that might be a way to test the market and kind of do some fun festivals and shows. So that's how the company started, initially with the retail part, even though it sprang from being curious about the history and wanting to learn more. And I thought I would do all of my business idea. It's kind of had 3 different areas, but every part took so long. I just thought I would put on my cape and I would do the research and the writing piece and do classes and party tours and retail, and it would just all come together in a year. But it really took me about 2 years to figure out and fine-tune just the retail and the pop-up, selling
That whole world.
Yeah, and selling breakables and labor-intensive setup and breakdown.
Yeah.
What was I thinking?
Your setup is so
impressive.
darling. Yeah, and that's always the first thing I think of, like, my goodness, this is very fragile glassware.
Well, and there's so much of it.
Yeah.
I mean, to like have to pack all of that up and then unpack it, that's got to be quite the ordeal. I'm sure you've got it down to a science at this point, but
Yeah, I do. And now that I've done so many different types of shows, festivals, doing curbside, like at a restaurant, but mostly shows and festivals, everybody has kind of a complicated setup.
Yeah.
Even if there's
The good
T-shirts or whatever, they've got or I do farm chicks. I mean, some of those vendors just build a whole gazebo, and then, you can hear the drills and power tools going. And so it's just kind of part of the creative process, I think, and what we do as vendors at these events. But mine is that everything is fragile and has to be polished and set up, and then the reverse when the event is over.
Well, it's an art form getting that set up and just seeing your darling little trailer is so cute.
I think people really want like the unique experience, which you definitely provide. And I'm so curious how you find all of your
that's
barware.
Totally one of my
because
questions.
I've seen it, and there's just such an eclectic array of things, and all beautiful and different. And I'm just like, what? I don't get it. Where does it all come from?
I used to do some thrifting, go to some estate sales and that kind of thing. I built up a pretty good inventory. And with doing shows now, people come to me. Yeah. So I met someone last summer. I always do a show in Seattle, Fremont Solstice, which is great fun. And there was older woman and her partner, and struck up a conversation, and she grew up on her grandfather's ranch in western Montana, and they still have the ranch, and they go there in the summer and close it up for the winter, and then they have a condo or something in Seattle. But she told me that her parents had this great martini cocktail set from the 1940s, and nobody's using it, and would I be interested in it? And so we exchanged information. So I met her, that was in June, and last week she texted me that she was coming through from Butte, Montana, and do you want to meet at the Starbucks on 2nd and Division and make the exchange? And she had sent me pictures, and I asked what she wanted for it. And so in that regard, now
Kind of being known for it.
Yeah, and it's kind of cool because I get more of the story.
I was just going to say.
I want to, there's so much, there was so much barware made. And just when you think you've seen it all, you see something, I see something I've never seen before. And maybe it has a maker's mark I knew nothing about. And so if it's been in the family for a while, I can curate it, or it gives me some background knowledge, context for it. And also then I get to hear their family stories and maybe where it originated, like, oh yeah, my Aunt Helen gave this to my parents. She was from New Jersey. And yeah, so I get more information.
That's amazing.
And I call this the Barware Rescue Program.
Yes.
So we will find a new loving home for your barware, where it will be part of another generation of celebrations and holidays, and not just tossed or thrown away.
Oh,
I love that you do that. I mean, it's so personal, really. Like,
it is very.
Things always are happening over food and drink, you know? Like, do you, like, write it down and, like, keep it with the barware that you collect, or?
I do.
Oh,
yeah.
wow. Okay. That's great.
I love it.
I would, like, love to hear the stories about, like, whatever. That's so cool. Yeah.
Too, especially when you think about, how it was used and what memories were created around it.
I know we're living in a time where people are getting rid of stuff because many of us have too much stuff, and but objects are really important to us, and we create meaning and social gatherings, just so many different emotions that you associate with an object. And so these objects have kind of a cool history and great stories and lots of memories. So I think they're powerful objects.
I love that. I would agree.
For sure. Yeah.
So do you have one favorite kind of glass or barware? Is glass the proper term, or is barware, or?
I think some people would call like the coupe glasses we're using for our drinks as glassware, and then barware being more your equipment and tools like shaker and jigger and Hawthorne strainer and that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah. Actually, I have some favorites. Like a coupe glass I love. I think everyone needs a set of coupe glasses.
Perfect. And
Just-
we will post a photo so
I'll
you know
write
what
that
this
down
is.
on
yeah,
my list.
yeah. And so the coupe glass, you would serve, cocktail in it that's strained, and so there's no ice in it, and they're great for champagne. Sometimes people in the past have used them for champagne and sweet wines, and you can serve dessert in them, and yeah, they have different uses. But my favorite barware is actually by the decorative artists that designed them. So there were these iconic artists that worked during mid-century, like the 40s and 50s, and they have cool stories, very American stories, and they made their living embellishing barware, like with the silver rims that you have.
okay.
Dorothy Thorpe, and she was a serious artist, and I think she was from Pasadena, California, and that's how she made her living. And she just decorated the blanks, came up with the designs, and they were sold in high-end department stores. And it was the beginning of the kind of home decor and gift kind of giftware thing, which, so many stores now, everybody has that.
Yeah.
But it was new, kind of in the right before World War II, and then after the war, it just really blossomed. But there was this guy, his name was George Briard. That's not his real name. And he was from Eastern Europe, Jewish heritage, and he got out just as the Nazis were marching in. So 1939, he escaped, came to America. He went to the Art Institute in Chicago, and then lived in New York. He and his wife, I was doing research on him and found his obituary, and he was married for like 56 years, but he made his living. He also was a serious artist. He did portraits and all kinds of things, which I hadn't realized until I saw some from a big auction, expensive auction, some of his work. But he paid his rent and kind of monthly expenses by designing glassware. And it's like that gold and like really cool. He had some patterns he was famous for, but it's hard to find a lot of his stuff. But I just recently came into a beautiful set of rocks glasses by him, and yeah, they're gorgeous.
Are you keeping them for yourself?
No.
I was gonna say, like, that would be so hard to decide, like, what do I add to my personal collection?
Yeah.
Oh, I bet your personal bar is quite expansive.
It is. It's eclectic, though. I have
Yeah.
I don't have complete sets. I have like one of different things, all different designs.
I love that.
Well, because like all the glasses we're drinking out of are different, and I just think that's so cool. Like, and they're beautiful. They're all beautiful, and so I mean, I'm always kind of like just buying sets of things because that's what you find in the store is a set of things.
That's
and
cool. Yeah.
It's fine. It's whatever. But it's not like I just love the uniqueness of this stuff. Like it's so different and it's vintage and it's interesting. And like you said, there's a story that goes with it.
Is there, I guess, is there anyone that's making barware now that like you would recommend, like if someone was like starting their own set for their family, like
is there a newer artist?
Is there like
glassware
or places you can find it?
Yeah, there are. I also some of the, classic glass companies, glass manufacturing. They're still out there, but they're just really expensive. So you can still get like really good. Ireland has a long tradition of making beautiful glassware, so you can still get a Waterford Rocks glass, but it's going to cost you like $100 for one glass. And then the other end, Target and Crate and Barrel and West, all the different stores are reproducing glassware. It just doesn't have the same weight and feel.
Right, yeah.
But it's really, it's approachable and...
For sure, yeah.
Yeah. And so you can do that.
I feel like I would be really, gosh, $100 on one glass. Like, you can have one cocktail. If you have two, you might drop it. Think about it. It would be very delicate with that. Even with some of the vintage glasses, it's like you can't replace that. So be easy on it.
So, on top of everything, you're a historian of like.
Liquor
historian.
Is that
like, it's not like spirits, like American spirits historian,
or cocktail historian.
Cocktail. There we go. That's better.
Or I'll say a historian, and I research and study American drinking traditions.
Okay.
So that is
So that's when we were talking about when we were making cocktails. You were saying like it started with punch.
Yeah, so America's first mixed drink was the punch. And in colonial America, every home, every tavern had a punch bowl, if not two. For a household, it was a sign of your social status and wealth. Martha Washington was famous for her punch. A tavern would have a punch, like today when you come in and they bring you a glass of water, or if you come, you go to someone's house or someone comes over, you ask, can I get you a cup of coffee or what have you. In colonial America, they would say, here's a cup of punch. And that was just how you greeted and kind of showed hospitality to people coming into your home. In fact, you would, if a stranger came into your home, you would maybe offer them food, but it's like your closest acquaintance and things that you would always give punch to.
Did families kind of have their own punch recipes that they would like hand down over the years or something?
There were so many punch recipes, but they had a little little rhyming thing to help remember how to make it. And it is 1 of sour, 2 of sweet, 3 of strong, 4 of weak. So 1 of sour, some citrus, something sweet, sugar, 3 of strong, and it was rum, and they would use different kinds of rum in the same punch. And then 4 of weak, I use sometimes sparkling wine, many times just because punches can be quite strong. So we'll finish them. The 4 of weak would be like some sparkling water, San Pellegrino or something like that. Colonials would finish it with tea or a milk product, milk punch, which is really good. Or they also drank a ton of champagne, so they would finish their punches with champagne.
Oh wow,
that dangerous. Is such a cute little. I love that.
And some wealthy people, I have heard or I've read that punch bowls described by how many ducks or swans could swim in the punch bowl. So the second to last day of the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia, their bar tab was long. They drank a lot, and but they had something like 9 on top of beer and ale and cider and some whiskey and rum. They had something like 7 or 8 or 9 large bowls of punch, punch bowls large enough that a half a dozen ducks could swim in it.
In one bowl?
In one bowl.
And so punch was like always contained alcohol. Like that's what it was?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
1 of sour, 2 of sweet, 3 of strong,
4 of weak.
4 of weak.
I already forgot it. I'm going to have to write this down. 1 of sour, 2 of sweet, 3 of strong, 4 of weak.
I love that.
That's awesome.
That's so
great.
Cool.
So I'm gonna go buy a punch bowl. I was
just thinking.
Do you sell punch bowls?
I do. Yeah.
That's something that I definitely wow. Yeah, I see punch bowls all the time. I love
at thrift stores. You'll see punch bowls all the time.
This is now. Gosh, I was like, who needs a punch bowl? I need a punch bowl.
Yeah, no kidding. I
don't have one. That's what I'm asking for Christmas.
A punch
bowl.
Just to give you an idea, like so many people think a Like a mixed drink is a cocktail. If you say I'm going to have a cocktail, it's just any mixed drink. But a cocktail is a specific genre or category of drink. And there were about 15 different categories of drinks, mixed drinks. One was one type, a punch, one type, a cocktail, one type, a sour. Somebody was talking about having whiskey sours over the summer.
Yep. That's me.
Nogs, like eggnog. There were different kinds of nogs.
But
In 1862, a bartender who's considered the father of American mixology, Jerry Thomas, published a book called The Bartender's Guide. And in it was the first publishing of any kind of bartending book. And it signaled the professionalization of the trade. And it also, as a historian, because you're looking for evidence, like an attorney or something going to court, you want pieces of evidence to prove your points. And so this book is great for historians or people interested in the history of drinking in America, because he printed all of the known recipes to that point in America, so from colonial eras. And he arranged the table of contents by all these different genres, categories of drinks. So fizzes, nogs, sours, sangarees, crustas, cocktails, punches. There are only 10 cocktail recipes. And he says at the beginning of that section that cocktails are a new kind of drink, something for like when you go fishing.
Yeah.
And then the largest category was punch, and there are 86 punch recipes.
Oh, wow.
I see, and like today I would think that's complete opposite. I would never think I would make a cocktail going fishing. A cocktail's like we're out on the town.
Yeah.
So that's so funny how that's evolved.
And some, not cocktail or drink historians, but historians of American history and the beginning of democracy and that whole kind of beginning of like independence and the war. They, a couple of them have talked about how democracy may have been hatched kind of over the punch bowl because it was communal. So you always made a huge batch.
Yeah.
They didn't make individual drinks. And so people came together, had punch, they discussed, they debated, they argued all over the punch bowl. And those first arguments and debates were in colonial taverns where the Sons of Liberty and kind of they started figuring out kind of steps to the road to revolution and how to separate from the British.
Wow.
That,
This
punch.
makes
It's powerful, isn't it?
It makes me so excited.
There's so much history.
yeah. Well, it got to when we were talking earlier. It's like, what's a mass cocktail recipe you can do for a party or so when you're hosting? And clearly the answer is punch.
Yeah.
You need a punch recipe. Like that totally solves that problem. And how cool! What an ode back to the origin.
Yeah.
Well, and you did the cocktails for Turing Table, which we all went to, and one of them was a whiskey punch that you did, whiskey smash, what that was called.
Yeah.
And then what was the other one you did?
The other one was a lemur gin punch.
That's right. That
Yeah.
was really good.
Yeah.
I remember that one. I had a few of those.
I'm just gonna look at punch so differently now. It really, like, even just thinking about the community at Turing Table and the fact that everyone was gathered around and just
That's so
Yeah.
cool.
If you have a favorite cocktail, it's interesting. So the nation began with punch, and then we end up, with cocktails, and that's what everybody thinks today as far as mixed drinks. It's a cocktail. But today we can take a cocktail and you can tweak it and do some math and basically make it into a punch.
awesome.
Yeah. And if you want to do that, just contact me. I can help you.
That is so
So you're the first guest that has made us drinks and like brought your whole
setup.
set of bar stuff, and the scofflaw was amazing. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you.
What's the history of this cocktail? Like, I mean, why did you pick this? Like, I mean, it was so good. I'm a little buzzed already. So.
Well, let's see, we're getting close to the holidays, and it's kind of red and looks Christmassy. There's that. But as far as our history, next year, so it's not too far away, 2020, is the 100-year anniversary of national federal prohibition. And so this drink, scofflaw, was invented during Prohibition. A banker in Quincy, Massachusetts in like 1923, 1924, had a contest for people to submit names. And it was supposed to be like a derogatory name, something that would discourage people from being this person, getting this label. And they had a contest for a word that described someone who had total disregard for the law, and the law meaning prohibition, and that they would drink it, kind of almost put it on par with that being unpatriotic, being a lawbreaker and all that. And he has a really cool name. I wasn't sure how to pronounce it, but his name is Delsavar King.
Oh, that is a cool,
very cool name. So he had this contest, and there were hundreds of submissions, and there was a prize, but the winning submission was the word scofflaw.
That's so cool. So
I love the story because the word was created to mean something derogatory about somebody, a scofflaw is somebody who would be breaking law, disregard, unpatriotic. And when Prohibition happened, there had been this professionalization of the bartending trade. So I had mentioned Jerry Thomas, father of American mixology. When he, at the height of his bartending career, he made more money than the Vice President of the United States. He was part showman, part chemist, part businessman. He put on a show. He had diamonds, rings on every finger. He had like a white cockatiel or some kind of bird on his shoulder. And he was born in upstate New York, but he bartended in New York, New Orleans, San Francisco, Chicago, St. Louis, like all the kind of big cities. So he just crisscrossed many times, north, south, east, west, the nation bartending, and always drew a crowd. And he was just part of this beginning of, it's not a job you did while you were going to school or something, going to graduate school. It was a career path, and a respectable one. And it took a lot of knowledge. You couldn't look up the recipe on your smartphone. You had to have this encyclopedic knowledge of all of these different drinks. And when Prohibition happened, a lot of the bartenders who maybe weren't married or didn't have families, they left and went to Europe. The largest number went to Havana, Cuba. But one bartender that was in London, I believe, he heard about this contest, this American bartender at Harry's Bar in London, I believe, he heard about this contest and this word scofflaw. So what did a really good bartender with a great sense of humor do? He invented a drink named for the word.
Oh,
that's awesome.
I love that.
I think
That's
of it as
great.
such a name, so it's funny to know that it was like a word invented as someone who was unpatriotic and breaking the law. The scofflaw.
That's so crazy.
You dirty scofflaw.
Yeah, and I'm going to start saying that. I'm going to bring that lingo back into the mix.
I mean, I've had many scofflaws, and now to know the history of the name, that's really cool, and like where it
it's
came
so
from.
cool.
And, wow, my mind is like blown.
I'm gonna scoff if I go somewhere and they don't know how to make this. Sorry, that was bad. That was a dad joke.
That was such a dad joke.
So I'm looking right here. I feel like this also, you have this on your website, that's Learn, Create, Taste. You offer so much. You've got a lot going. So it's like cocktail-themed private classes and parties. You have the barware and the accessories, gift sets, barware rentals, and bitters kits. I feel like hear you talking about these drinks and the barware. I just want to talk to you forever. No, there's all of these great, I mean, if someone wants to learn, I thought I knew a thing or two about cocktails and punch. I'm going to stop using the word cocktails. No, I haven't even skimmed the surface. Where do you recommend someone starts if they want to learn more about the history and the culture?
Well, you could take a class from me.
Yes.
There we go. But also there's some good books out there, and podcast as well. And some of the books are probably like available audio
Cool.
Books. But maybe it kind of depends what you like to drink. But one good book is called Imbibe, and it's by David Wondrich, and he does a cocktail column for Esquire magazine, and he's actually written a couple books. He also wrote a book called Punch, but his first big book, Imbibe, and I don't recall the what comes after the semicolon, the subtitle, but it's basically the story of Jerry Thomas. And then it has recipes in it as well. And it's very readable. He's a wonderful writer. I think his background, he went to Oxford and he studied the classics. And so he's got a gift to with writing. And there's another really good book called And a Bottle of Rum, The History of the New World in 5 or 6 drinks, something like that. So each chapter is different chapter of what was the popular drink of the era. And even though it says it's about rum, it has a whole chapter about whiskey, because after the Revolutionary War, rum went out of favor, so to speak. Rum was associated with the British and it was dependent on molasses from, sorry for the history lesson, but it was dependent on molasses from the Caribbean and the sugar plantations. It was tied into the triangular slave trade. And those shipping lanes, those trading with those British colonial islands was cut off. And the new generation of Americans just looked at rum as kind of the drink of their father and of kind of old people in the old ways. And they were looking west and to the new, and just grain becoming readily available and in surplus, and some new inventions in distillation process. A new kind of still was invented that made it easier to distill, and so that's when the rise of whiskey happened. So rum went out of favor and whiskey became hugely popular.
Why do you think whiskey's having such a big comeback now?
Because it's just so good.
That's a great answer.
But you know what? Gin is on fire too, and there's just so many great gins out there. Rum came back during Prohibition, and then also after World War II with the tiki movement and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, and there's some good rums out there right now. We have the artisan craft distilling industry has just, expanded, exploded, and in so many different spirits. So it's really a cool time to learn more and to kind of develop your palate and figure out what you like. And you won't like everything. We hope not, right?
I don't know. I was thinking, gosh, I like everything. It's all delicious. Let's talk about your bitters.
Okay, yeah.
Too. So, I've gotten it last year. That was such a great gift for people that enjoy, cocktails and appreciate them. So how did you get into, just from the history, you decided that you couldn't find what you were looking for? You wanted to take your own approach to it? Or?
Yeah, actually there's some great bitters and like artisanal bitters that are made. But also I was interested in it just because it's one of the 4 ingredients of a true cocktail. So what makes a cocktail different from a punch or a sour or whatever? And originally a cocktail was 4 ingredients only. It was spirits, sugar, water, and bitters. And so if you think about the classic cocktails, they have those 4 ingredients: an old fashioned, a Manhattan, a Sazerac. Just when you're researching this, or if you get into kind of wanting to learn more about cocktails and even distilling and all that, to make bitters is infusing. It's kind of becoming the alchemist, because both distillation and making bitters come from a medicinal and a lot of kind of religious kind of origins. And bitters were health remedies, kind of handed down like British pagan folk remedies.
Cool.
And they were hugely popular, like turn of the century, like late 1700s to the 1800s. There were 100 different kinds of bitters. One famous, really popular bitters you would go and get at the pharmacy were called Hofstadter's stomach bitters. And it's supposed to kind of settle your stomach. But what bitters are just different kinds of botanicals, dried citrus rind, different barks, different herbs, same kinds of things you would put, like make herbal tea out of. And then they're put in high proof alcohol, and they infuse or macerate, more like infuse, for like anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks. And that infusion process, the high proof alcohol pulls the flavors out of all of the botanicals. And so that's how you get the deep flavor of the bitters. And soda pop came from bitters.
Really?
So root beer are literally roots and barks that were infused. And they started out as syrups, and they were considered like Dr. Pepper.
Yeah.
Was like medicine, as in like doctor, like a medical doctor.
Oh
and
gosh.
I think,
So
isn't
funny.
Dr. Pepper supposed to have like
30
different
or-
ingredients?
Yeah,
And they're
yeah.
all botanicals. And then I can't remember exactly when, but sometime in the early 1900s, I know like by 1940, you have like the soda fountain. And that's when they added to the syrup, to these bitters, basically, they added more sugar and phosphorescent waters and soda water to make what we know today as soda pop.
I was just going to say soda pop. Yeah.
But anyway, so I was just interested
Fascinating.
in kind of the whole process of infusing and playing around with different botanicals for different flavors, and for my cocktail classes, I just thought that'd be a fun activity if everybody did the first step in class, just to learn how to do that. And then from there, I ended up making little kits.
Cool.
That's awesome.
Yes.
They're darling too.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, and those will be at From Here.
From here, yes.
Yeah.
It's-
Holiday shopping is right around the
It's so
corner.
interesting to hear the story of things like soda or Dr. Pepper or whatever. And I guess it shouldn't come as a surprise that everything has an origin. Like, things come from somewhere. But, like, how long have you been, like, learning about the history of American mixology and stuff like that, and, like, doing this whole thing?
Yeah, I think I've been a history educator for over 20 years, but the last 7 years, my reading, my research, and tasting, because that's part of it, right?
Yes, definitely.
Has been focused on, American drinking traditions and
Okay.
how things, that kind of the pushes and pulls for the changes, and why did that change? And it's interesting. The other thing is, it's all the same history I've always taught. It's just teaching it through a very different lens, but through the cocktail glass. But gosh, military history, economic history, I mean, all of our history touched on and influenced what people were drinking, which is very cool.
So cool.
Yeah.
It makes me want to learn more about history.
The other thing that I like about it is it connects us.
Yeah.
So sometimes I think today it can be easy to feel just so disconnected, or sometimes you want to disconnect. But these stories, I think, help us to make sense of where things came from and how we are connected, and it can be kind of grounding. I think that's good.
That's awesome.
Definitely.
Oh,
So you have the barware that you do pop-ups and you sell that, and then you also have your classes. And so and we talked a little bit about it, but how, like, what do you do in the classes, and like how can people like get a hold of you, and tell us more about that.
Okay, sure. So the classes, there are 3 parts: learn, create, and taste.
love.
They're on a theme. I have about 10 or 12 different themes, and I love coming up with new themes that are specific to someone's event or celebration. But so a popular theme is the rise of American whiskey. So we make a series of 3 or 4 drinks, depending on what you want to do. And we learn about them, we make them, we taste them, and we do it chronologically. So, because you think, I mean, we're all chronological. It's just how we live, and that's definitely how history is. So it helps to let the story unfold and just how things change, kind of pulling those threads along. So yeah, 3 to 4 drinks, chronological, on a theme, the rise of American whiskey, or rum, colonial tavern to tiki bar, many lives of gin. Gin is a fascinating story. Prohibition, yeah, so many different themes. And so we do the story behind the drink, and then I set up bartending stations. So everybody gets a history lesson, but then they get a mixology lesson, and I don't serve or pour or anything, any of the drinks. They private party, and the guests learn to make their drinks and mix them and enjoy them. And then we move on, kind of the next story that leads to the next drink. So that's how we do that.
Kind of like we got a little sample of that tonight, where you're just talking, and both of you got to give it a whirl, making the cocktail. Did you get to shake, Brendan?
I didn't shake.
Oh, you didn't shake.
I didn't get to shake, but I definitely got to taste.
Well,
and I got to learn, and
the learning has been. I've
so
learned
cool.
so much tonight. You're kind of fueling me to go read more.
I want to learn about. I mean, we don't need to talk about this now, but I want to learn so much more about like my favorite cocktails, and just like you just don't think about that when you
You don't.
When you're drinking it. Like you don't think about like, oh, there's a history here. There's something to be learned here. You just like, oh, I'm having a dirty martini. Like you don't think about like the history of it, like where it came from, and like why that matters. And like it's always important to like kind of like take a step back and like think like there's a reason why was it first made with gin, and then when did vodka come into the picture, and
why do some people make it with vermouth?
Yeah.
So what's the best way for someone to find you?
Probably via my website. So raisingthebarnwnorthwest.com would be an excellent way. And then also I'm on Instagram as Badass Barware, or the Facebook page is Raising the Bar Northwest spelled out. My branding's a little bit all over the place, but
no, it's easy. I love following you on Instagram. It's super fun.
So any of those will get you to me.
Do you have classes that I know we talked to you were pretty busy through the holiday season this year, as we're quickly approaching. Do you have any public classes that have openings available before?
You know what? I'm doing a class with Hogwash Whiskey Den. I think that one is sold out, so we'll see if maybe we can
sneak another one in.
Do another one. And then I do a monthly class at the Culinary Stone in Coeur d'Alene.
Awesome.
And so there's some spots left in that class. It's on a Thursday evening, December 5th.
Cool.
And the theme on that class is it's beginning to look a lot like cocktails.
Cute.
And basically it's just cocktails that are fun to make, and kind of, the flavors of Christmas in a glass, and something you can learn to make. And then maybe if some friends drop by during the holidays, you can you can impress them with your mixology skills and a little story and enjoy, getting together over a cocktail during the holidays.
That's awesome.
I just love that it's more than just like, here's how to make a cocktail, but it's here's how to make a cocktail and everything else that goes along with that. And that's so
The
cool.
history and the stories are
so
actually a lot cooler.
Yeah,
than
definitely.
like the cocktail. It kind of makes me
appreciate it more.
Yeah. And I was just thinking, gosh, it would be much more fun to have people over for a cocktail now. I feel like once you learn something, instead of just we always,
and what a good,
we'll just be like, let's go out and have a
conversation
cocktail or have a
starter,
drink.
too. Like a little icebreaker at the party. Like, oh, did you know that such and such about the scofflaw and blah 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 blah. And that's great.
Do you have any online shop or for barware? That seems really tricky because shipping in general, that gives me spicy armpits, makes me nervous. I would imagine that would be tricky.
Yeah. My website right now has a shop tab, Badass Barware, and I am going to work to get some things up there between now and Thanksgiving. And
great.
Cool.
I think I might do just a little pop-up open house home for the holidays shopping in Spokane.
Love it, yeah.
And so, literally, home for the holidays, come shop barware. And so I'll be posting that on my social media feeds.
So follow Renee on social
I'm
media.
looking at like that first Friday night, Saturday of December.
Fun.
That might be good. Just kind of do a little open house.
We will be there.
I know, I'm
for
like
sure.
giving Nate the eyes.
Yeah.
That needs to happen. Awesome. Well, goodness. Yeah, let's see. Did we cover all sorts of the good things? I do have one more question. You talk about the history of just drinking in general and those traditions, and is there anything around the holidays outside of punch bowls that's like common?
Hot drinks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hot toddies, right? Ben and Jerry's?
Tom and Jerry's.
Ben and Jerry's, that's ice cream.
Yeah. Hot toddies. I think Tom and Jerry's were hugely popular, like 1940s, 50s, and 60s. I think the hot buttered rum is kind of a riff off of that. And so it's kind of, Tom and Jerry's are kind of a mix of a hot buttered rum and eggnog, but hot and not quite as sweet.
So good.
But that is probably the quintessential American winter drink from the 1900s on.
And I think of that, just even not being able to drink it, but I have memories of that being in a punch bowl. Mm-hmm. They were popular,
the sets of, so many different kinds of sets.
I totally have memories of that as a kid, like seeing that at like my Nana's house or like at family gatherings, and they weren't clear. They were like a solid white. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Just watch. I'm going to be posting. I have about a dozen of them, all different styles. And I use that for a punch bowl year round. Just turn it around, where it says the Tom and Jerry. I just kind of turn that around, flip it around, and you can, let it have double duty all year round.
Yeah, punch that. And what a great gift, though, too. And to talk about that in general. I'm so excited.
Yeah. Well, gosh, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much for coming, for being on the show. Oh my gosh, for making us a cocktail, for the history, for the knowledge. So excited. We have one last question that we always end the show with.
Okay.
Yes. Our final question is why Spokane? Why do you love it so much here?
Oh gosh, there's so much. All the things we just talked about, right? From the hot list. Yeah, I think that it has enough. Well, the culture, the art, the culinary scene, the beauty, like our parks, the near nature, near perfect.
I love that.
So we have all of that, and we have a populations that's large enough to support that without all of the craziness of a Seattle or a Portland. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like we have all the good stuff, but not necessarily the negative stuff to the degree that other places have.
Yeah.
So, but it's, I love Spokane, and no place is perfect. We have some things that we have to work on.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Just like
But we
anywhere,
can do
though,
it.
right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But we
Absolutely.
can do it if anybody
Definitely.
can.
We can definitely do it
Spokanites
over
can
a
do it.
We can do it over a
too.
punch bowl. We
Yep,
can-
exactly.
Discuss, debate,
Yes.
and let's figure this out.
I love it.
Yes, that's great.
Thank you so
you
much,
so
Renee.
much.
Cheers. Yes,
Yeah.
thank you
Cheers.
so
Oh,
much.
you guys, thank you. It was fun.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Keep up with us at spokast.com. That is SPOKAST. And you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Spokast Podcast.
This podcast has been brought to you by Spokecast Productions. Produced by Brennan Pointer, Andrea Williams, and Nate Martin. Original music composed by San Silvis. Thank you for listening.